Dr. Krishna, please unmute to check your audio.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, you are. If you have time, kindly check out for the virtual background, if it's possible.
It's not possible, ma'am. Actually, my system is not supporting, ma'am.
Sir, thank you so much. Warm welcome to you. Please be with us.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem, sir. Pawan Sudhir, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. Please stay with us.
Good afternoon.
We have all the eminent panelists. We are just waiting for Mr. Vishwanath.
Okay.
Be joining us in a minute. So we are all good for 4 p.m. sharp today.
Okay, all the best. And I'm very happy that the background is there because that was a tension point.
Perfectly in place with the background.
Okay.
Mr. Lalit, I think our audio check was done. I hope all fine.
Yes, I think everything is fine from my side. Yep.
Thank you so much, Mr.
No
Lalit.
worries.
Manju, ma'am, I've already spoken to you, so thank you. Wow, good afternoon, sir. Dr. G.K. Vishwanath.
Very good afternoon, madam. Very good afternoon.
And, thank you for joining, and the audio is all fine, video is fine. Thank you so much. Thank you. Stay with us, sir.
Okay.
I may request you to be on mute mode, sir. Thank you.
Ma'am, Sunita, ma'am, small correction, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Please tell me.
Ma'am, I'm an ex-faculty, ma'am. I'm not currently working there.
No problem.
Yeah. Just mention that in introduction, ma'am. If at all, if something is there like that.
I will take care of that. Thank you. Good afternoon to one and all. It's a very exciting day for all of us. I'm Sunita Rao, the Senior Principal of Delhi Public School, Nacharam, Secunderabad, hosting the National Virtual Conference today on role of ICT in education. This is a precursor to the two-day international conference on national education policy, vision to action. On behalf of the management of Delhi Public Schools and Pallavi Group of Schools and Colleges, I extend a hearty welcome to all the esteemed panel members, eminent audience of principals, teachers, parents, and students. The paramount need of today is education, which, as the NEP 2020 states, is fundamental for achieving full potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. The world is undergoing rapid changes in the knowledge landscape, especially in the field of ICT. NEP 2020 lays particular emphasis on the highest quality education that is second to none by 2040. Given the explosive pace of technological development, allied with the sheer creativity of tech-driven teachers and entrepreneurs, including student entrepreneurs, ICT is going to impact education in multiple ways, including what they learn in the classroom and in areas of research, both on technological and educational fronts. On this note, it's my proud privilege to accord a warm welcome to Dr. Mrs. Pawan Sudhir, Professor and Head, Department of Education. Namaste, ma'am. Department of Education in Arts and Aesthetics, NCERT, New Delhi. Ma'am, as the project head, she has headed the Art Integrated Learning of NCERT, Delhi. The program was conceptualized and launched in 2010-11 and is now running in more than 1 million schools across the country as part of NEP 2020 under NISHTA of Ministry of Education and Government of India's pedagogy of joyful and experiential learning. Chairperson of India Toy Fair Committee, National Convener, Kalak Utsav, a unique initiative of Ministry of Education, Government of India, Cultural Coordinator of Pradhan Mantri Innovative Learning Program for Gifted and Talented Students, Dhruv, National Editor of UNESCO in a nutshell. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. We're honored by your presence. Let us set the stage for today's learning platform by inviting you, ma'am, to be the first speaker. May I invite you to reflect. Art integrated learning is a process where art becomes a medium of teaching learning, a key to understanding concepts within any subject of the curriculum. How do you, ma'am, visualize this integration using technology?
Thank you, Dr. Rao. First of all, I must thank you for having me on this panel of learned key resource persons, and we will be spending some time listening to each other, and I would definitely be learning a lot, because today's conference is basically on ICT in education. And as you have already said, that NEP 2020 talks a lot about the integration of ICT in education for bringing quality in education. And so many aspects are related to this. As you yourself and your school team is practicing art integrated learning, if you look at art integrated learning, I think that the word technology is already part of it. Because when we talk of technology, what is technology? It's basically application of scientific knowledge to bring positive change in human behavior, in human environment. So wherever, whatever we do, as we have one subject, the education technology. So if you look at education technology, it's nothing but the pedagogy, and very little part was given to hardware or software of ICT at that time. But now when we look at education for 21st century, and what NEP 2020 is recommending in a very strong manner, has a very good combination of education and ICT. And thankfully, COVID-19 has taught us that without this, we could not have done anything. So now coming back to the art integrated learning, which is a pedagogy of experiential and joyful learning, I feel that use of ICT can make the impact of art integrated learning to is double, because talking of those schools where we do not have issues of procuring technology, and especially the machinery part of it. Of course, when we talk of government schools, of course, we might take 10 to 15 years to reach that level. But when you talk of schools, self-financing schools, we do have that kind of ICT facilitated setups that our teachers and students both can do wonders. So in a very brief, if I talk of art integration without the ICT, then I need lots of material, I need more time, I need different kind of classrooms. But when I talk of ICT, then you have software as well as hardware available, which reduces the learning time, exploration time, and puts together all the resources, and I should say quality resources. For example, if I'm a teacher of science, I'm just one teacher interacting with so many students, whatever good I'm doing. But ICT makes it a collaborative teaching, because whatever best I want to bring, nobody can stop me. There's so much on the open source, and there's so much that children are doing. So we can bring all those resources together, pool the resources, and give opportunity to our children, save time, and have wonderful experience to learn the concept. So I think going into details will take more time. Otherwise, we can give those kind of examples if there is a need and teachers ask for that. So for now, I think this is what was required.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pawan Sudhir, ma'am. The work you do is clearly incredible and evident from your response today. Thank you. Will please stay with us for the further rounds of discussion. It's my honor to have Mr. C.S. Lalit Prasad, Head Professional Development, South Asia, Cambridge University Press and Assessment, with us today as our eminent panelist. Warm welcome to you, Mr. Prasad.
Namaste. So,
he's also been, we know Mr. Lalit Prasad, synonymous of Cambridge education, and we've been associating for years together and benefiting from his support given to all our group schools. He's also been with British Council, heading 3 states for implementing teacher professional development program, which was academically led by Open University UK. Sir and his team have developed and implemented MOOC, massive open online course for teacher educators across India in 2015. And all our eminent speakers have minimum 5 to 10 pages of loads of experience. But then I'm speaking a few lines, and pardon me if I'm not doing justice to any of you today. On that note, I would now like to invite you to join our discussion, Mr. Lalit. Mr. Lalit, I've seen you head the training and development needs of teacher educators, both at the national and international level. It would be great to hear your views on how teachers train learners to become creators of e-content rather than just consumers of it. What kind of capacity building of teachers will be required to hone such skills? Please, sir.
wonderful. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak at this, academicians-filled gathering. I would certainly say that very importantly, as the co-creators of content needs to be the need of the hour, because we all know that the contents are given. Given in the sense it's been kind of prescribed. So I would rather say that the concept of co-creating should actually take the forefront. There are reasons why we say that. Whenever we start talking to our teachers, and also when we come out or put down those kind of training packages for them, we consciously have an element of how do they actually work very closely with the users of it, which means the learners. So the students actually take a very, very important role in terms of co-creating the content. Now comes the skills. Actually, what skills needs to be kind of provided to the teachers, and also thereby they become the creators of the content. Like one of the speakers just mentioned, I think we have enormous open source that is available there, and also we call them as open educational resources. And also it is based on very premise of 5 R's, which means retain, reuse, revise, remix, and also redistribute. So when I say that, I think the co-creation is not just to say and also literally mean that somebody creates a content and also probably that has been kind of fitted into some kind of environments, but it has to be wisely thought of. Why do we need those kind of co-created content? So whenever we think of co-creation of content, which comes to our mind is when somebody, for example, the content creation team, when they create, they are attaining the mastery level of the concept. So that is very important for us to bear in mind. And also the open source or the open educational resources in this context definitely would help our teachers to kind of hone their skills and also probably get to the next level. Secondly, I would also want to touch upon the few of the other technological points that we have. So one is that the software and also the hardware. And now whenever we speak about this content creation, we immediately jump on learning the coded languages, etc., etc. But that is not the case. Actually, now, if you see the NEP 2020, which is also touching upon some of the open sources and also the already built-in content. When I say built-in content, it is available readily to be customized and also then to be used in the teaching and learning and also assessment process. So we are actually looking at this domain very focusedly, and also it's a very prominent domain for us, and also probably will bring in more technology, will bring in more good practices which are followed across the globe, and also build this training content for the teachers. So I want to stop now and also probably expand on some of the points later.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lalit. Your contribution to the field of education and both Cambridge and other boards has been invaluable. Thank you for your guidance to all members of the audience, and I'm sure they're going to carry back the valuable points. Thank you. Please stay with us. It's a pleasure to have Mrs. Manju Balasubramaniam, Principal and Postgraduate Teacher Biology from Delhi Public School, Bangalore North, with us today as our eminent panel member. She's a keen lifelong learner, technology enthusiast, and above all, a passionate teacher. A firm believer of inclusion, she believes that diversity enriches the world. And I am personally aware of the inclusive, I must say, wing that DPS North is offering as special education to the children in need. As an educator, she feels blessed to be in the 21st century and feels immensely privileged to be an active contributor in preparing children for the 4th industrial age. I like that word. Balancing scientific progress with ethics, morals, and values, and thereby enabling children to make informed choices makes what she's doing even more challenging. I've seen you bring in path-breaking changes in the field of innovations and technology, Ms. Manju Balasubramaniam. I think on that note, it excites me to ask you, pose this question to you. How can schools use and sustain an online learning community using the varied ICT tools available today?
Thank you, Sunita ma'am, for inviting me to this wonderful panel. The NEP 2020 and the United Nations SDG 4 both speak about equitable, inclusive, and accessible quality education. And when you talk about inclusive education and accessible education, you think of removing barriers. And I think ICT technology does that in the most beautiful way. Dr. Sudhir spoke about how art integration can happen through ICT, and you cut down on cost, you cut down on material, but you're still getting children to understand art in a larger dimension. You're working collaboratively, and so ICT can do so much, right? So much. And here you ask me this question of how ICT can help build an online community. I think schools no more are standalone organizations. another thing that makes education lifelong, which is a key aspect of the NEP and the SDG, is making the school seamless, getting the community into the school and getting the school into the community. So borderless schools without boundaries, where the community and the school can be participatory, and the entire village can raise children, And so I think COVID-19, again, like Dr. Sudhir said, threw open that opportunity of connecting parents and the community with the school. What was limited to PTMs became a virtual daily reality. Classes were being conducted in homes, from the teacher's home to the student's home. The student, the parent, and the grandparent were all learning together. And so I think this heightened the mutual respect for one another, the teaching community and the parental community. It also gave us the opportunity to bring in experts like Dr. Pavan and Lalit into our classrooms. It gave us the opportunity to work with universities across the globe. We could, if it was a program like Ek Bharat, Shresh Bharat, it was just not limited to textbooks. It was like you could get an authority from Uttarakhand for Karnataka speak. We could see the jungles, and we could see the mountains, and we could see the snow sitting in our homes. And that kind of a community connect is what is going to help children in the future. I know that the UNICEF has this mega dream called the UNICEF Giga, which says that the internet line or connectivity will reach every school. And I think if the internet reaches every home, then ICT and learning will be a completely different dimension. And learning will not be limited only to textbooks and the local context, but will become global. And I think that is again one of the dimensions of education, is global citizenship and collaboration of children across barriers. And I think engaging with the community, whether it is educational institutions, NGOs, all of them work extremely well with ICT. And given India's traffic, given India's challenges of mobility, again, ICT removes that barrier. Today, we are from different parts of the world sitting in this conference, and there are teachers and educators from different parts of India participating. And I think that is what social mobility and social connectivity has relevance with learning, saying bring lifelong learning for everyone through this platform.
Thank you so much, Ms. Manju. So well said. Your contribution to the field of education has been invaluable, and you're still a teacher by heart, and you actually work a lot with the young children in school. You also represent and symbolize the practitioner, because you're actually bringing a vision into action in the schools. And thank you. Please stay with us. Yeah, it's my privilege now to invite and welcome Dr. G.K. Vishwanath, Professor of Civil Engineering, and he's also the OSD to Vice Chancellor. Namaste, sir. Warm welcome to you. He is also the OSD to Vice Chancellor, JNT University, Hyderabad. At present, sir is guiding 8 PhD scholars and a large number of MTech students. He has organized 9 national conferences and workshops, besides being a member of organizing committees for several seminars and workshops at national and international levels. He's been associated with several MHRD and AICT R&D projects. He's also a fellow of Institution of Engineers and a member of many professional bodies. Like our other eminent panel speakers today, sir, your profile also runs 2 pages, but I just took a few lines from the profile, and pardon me if you've not done justice to you. Thank you so much for accepting our invite and for being with us today. With your expertise in the field of research and engineering, I invite you to reflect on how schools can use artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchains, smart boards, and other forms of educational software and hardware for student development.
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. Thank you for giving the opportunity, and thank you to collaborate with all the people in a nice gathering here, a very august gathering. I feel very privileged to be here today with all of you. And you made a very nice question about how to make use of this technology in terms of artificial intelligence, machine learning, smart boards, blockchains, how they can be integrated into the education. If you look back, actually, we used to feel a few years back thinking that AI and ML will definitely will come into the education shortly. But if you just look back and if you look around, already artificial intelligence and machine learning is into us. We have been using knowingly or unknowingly. Coming to the school education and college education, we find that AI and ML can be effectively used for the personalized learning, to define an effective personalized learning path for each of the student. Not only in teaching learning, in fact, this AI and ML can be used even in the evaluation process also, because huge data can be collected, and all this data for each individual student's data will be able to analyze with respect to the learning style of the student, and what are the interests of the student, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses of the student, etc. So these AI ML algorithms definitely can suggest the personalized content and activates which are tailor-made for the student. So the students' individual needs will be met through this AI ML. Naturally, they'll be very happy and they show more interest to learn. So this is how artificial intelligence and machine learning may come in the form of a personalized learning in the coming days also. Coming to this blockchain technology also, because we'll be able to store a huge data. Student records can be stored, transcripts can be stored, certificates can be stored, and all this would be very easier also, and you can track it so conveniently. And additionally, blockchain can be used to verify the authenticity of all these certificates. So this is how this will be helpful in the school records or in the college records and so on. Smart boards, of course, we have been using it. Many people have been handling it as a good handheld computing device for enhancing the learning experience in variety of ways. For example, teachers can use smart boards to create the interactive lessons, engage the students, and encourage the complete and continuous participation of the student. This is very, very important. Let it be a higher education institution or a school education. The participation of student and engagement of student effectively in the classroom is very important, because the students, a lot of diversity is taking place, a lot of distraction in the student concentration is taking place because of so many other engagements of the students nowadays. So these smart boards definitely will engage them continuously. So these devices can be used to facilitate the collaboration between the student, teacher, and enable a real-time feedback system also. So blockchain technology will be used for a real-time feedback system to the students, which can definitely help them for effective teaching learning process. I feel some of the institutions are already implementing it, the smart boards in most of the higher education institutions also. It has been in use. So this usage of technology definitely will be highly useful for making the teaching, learning, evaluation effective. Thereby the student also can be enhanced with a better knowledge in the coming days because of this personalized learning path, which is defined exclusively for the students.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vishwanath. I think that was a lot of insightful and very valuable thoughts on the topic of discussion today. And I'm sure our participants have loads to carry back and imply them back in their own schools. Thank you. Please stay with us. We are still continuing the round of discussions. We are immensely pleased to have a clinical psychologist, Dr. G. Sri Krishna, who was associated with NIMH as our eminent panelist in our midst today. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I know how busy each one of you are, and yet you have acceded to our request and you're here with us today. Sir is a faculty of psychology to MPhil, postgraduate and graduate students. He extends clinical service in which the role involves training students in psychological assessment, behavior modification, and family counseling. He has initiated a placement cell to identify potential employment opportunities for the students and career guidance to them. I think that's a huge genre of works that you're doing, sir, a huge spectrum of areas that you're covering, being a clinical psychologist, and with the kind of work that you do, we are eager to hear you speak on the role that ICT plays among students with learning disabilities. Please suggest more ways by which the digital platform can be used as an effective tool for children with special needs.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
You're audible, sir. Kindly go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, ma'am, the question you have asked, what ICT play, what role does the ICT play among students with learning disabilities? It plays a very, very larger role. Today, at least 15% of the world population is living with disabilities. Information and communication technologies have the potential for making significant improvements in the lives of persons with disabilities, allowing them to enhance their social, cultural, political, and economic integration in communities by enlarging the scope of activities available to them. This is given by UNESCO, ma'am. So assistive technology is available to help individuals with many types of disabilities, from cognitive problems to physical impairment. And at our institute, we have developed a unique package called computer assisted instruction. And also with the help of CDAC, we have developed eSadhya. So these, for the learning disabilities, ICTs are useful for improving quality of life by enhancing effectiveness of teaching, developing life skills, complementing learning in special needs education, and exploring other related issues. And ICTs enable disabled students to provide access to the curriculum and support learning and help disabled trainers and promote their skills. And ICTs and barriers, what do we need and what are the challenges? It is crucial to raise awareness about the barriers that persons with disabilities face and identify the potential technology to overcome these barriers. So several interrelated barriers ICT can be identified in existing literature, and basically there are lack of interest, lack of awareness, difficulty of access, high cost of ICT, lack of ongoing support, and lack of training. Basically, so the limited complementary services, for example, assistive technology, special accommodation for certified exams, vocational counseling and assessments. So limited accessibility features at a mainstream ICT training festival needs to be done. So the following suggestions I would like to make, that ensure all the students with learning disabilities have available to them free appropriate public education that emphasizes special education and related services designed to meet their unique needs and prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. And to quote, there are a lot of other issues which I'll be talking later, given opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure, Dr. Sri Krishna. Indeed, your sharing of your experience and also illustrating specific initiatives taken by you and NIMH is greatly impressive, because today's world, equity and equality, inclusiveness is part and parcel of educational systems, both at school level and higher education level. And we look forward to your greater contribution, and we look forward to listening to more support that you can provide to all the schools, such that every single school can boast of being an inclusive school. Thank you so much. Please be with us, sir. I'd like to invite you again. On that note, I must say, dear audience, I hope you get to post your comments on the chat box and also raise your questions, clarifications on the Q&A. I must say, every single panelist today is so eminent and so enriching in terms of their experience and what they bring into this panel today, that I'm sure you're all eager to carry it back to your world, school world, I must say. On that note, it's time for the second round of discussion, and I would like to invite Dr. G.K. Vishwanath. May I invite you for the second round of discussion, sir? Where do you see India as a global leader in the information and communication technology, and in other cutting-edge space domains, such as space in the next 20 years?
Yeah, madam, I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Right. Actually, if you look at India, it has already established itself as a major player in the ICT, in the information communication technology, because we have a large number of a very growing pool of talented software engineers. We are producing IT professionals and providing IT professionals across the world, across the globe. In the coming 20 years also, if you see, you can expect India to continue to expand its ICT capabilities. Like more focus maybe there on the emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. So all this may be there, and India has a very good potential to become a leader in these technologies in the coming 20 years. This also will be helpful not only for great innovation and delivering good innovation, but also for a good economic growth to the country. Also, if you just see the space technology, as you have been mentioning, already we made a significant progress in the space technology with so many successful missions to the moon, Mars. We have been sending so many things to growing satellite launch industries there. So in the coming 20 years, India is likely to continue to build on these achievements. Also, it will expand the capabilities in the space exploration, satellite technology, and other cutting-edge space domains also. So India's space program is likely to play a key role in the global efforts in the coming days, as we can see. So if you see the India's economy and the society, which are becoming more and more digital, we have one major issue also. The major issue is about the security, the cyber security. So various cyber security measures, and these are also becoming increasingly important for the Indian context, of course, in the global context also. So India has already taken several steps to strengthen this cyber security capabilities, and then it is likely to continue and invest more in the cyber security to see that things are smooth, foolproof, safe in the coming years. So coming to the ICT, already we have a very good history of innovating the things, long tradition of scientific and technological advancements, and we may become a key player also in the global innovation in the coming days to come.
Wonderful, sir. You've actually shared the futuristic vision of technology in India and the key ways in which the nation can bring in digital platform, not just at the industry level, but into education further. I think that's what is going to sustain us and allow us to grow further towards the new age, I must say, growth factors. And NEP 2020 is definitely reflected in your talk in terms of its vision into action. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Thank you. May I now invite Mrs. Manju Balasubramaniam? Ma'am, I'm keen to know how can schools use and I'm keen to know I would like you to suggest some innovative ways to effectively assess students' learning using the ICT model. Pandemic and post-pandemic, a lot of experimentation has happened in all our schools. So what were those experiments, and what kind of solutions have you brought into school level? Further, what are some of the challenges that you've faced?
Thank you, ma'am. Teaching and learning can never be complete without assessment. And I think, again, COVID-19 brought that to the fore. So while we spent the first year doing a lot of teaching and learning because we didn't want teaching to stop, we were not very clear about how to assess. So learning what students were learning was a question mark. But in the process, a lot of formative assessments started happening through ICT. Teachers started using polls and surveys in the classroom every day. And so you could gauge what the class was doing on a daily basis. Also, the information that was coming from these polls was giving immediate feedback to the teacher on what to improve for the same day's class, even not for the next day's class, right? So traditional assessment would take time, but here you were getting immediate feedback. It went to a step higher when we started doing these assessments diagnostically so that remediation could happen for the student. And all this information was available at a fingertip for the parents as well. So all stakeholders who are engaged in the process of teaching and learning could use this feedback constructively. What does assessment do? Assessment does two things. It tells the learner where they are and what they have learned. And second, it tells them where they are and what they must do to improve to go to the next level. Right? So ICT in education helps this. Now, a lot of formative assessment tools like quizzes, Quizlet, Socrative were used by teachers across. Math tools were used, science online labs were used. A lot of testing happened through polls and surveys. So all that happened. Summative assessment is still in the process. We are relying on tools like IBM Watson to give us a more detailed kind of a thing for languages. But I think the way we look at assessment has changed with ICT. Rather than summative testing that tests recall, we are now looking at assessment that is helping build creative thinking, problem solving. And I would like to compliment CBSE for giving those kinds of questions now, like assertion reasoning. You know, you can have the internet at your disposal and answer those questions because the question and answer are both given to you, and you need to make an informed choice based on your ability to pick up information from what is available there. So case-based studies, problem-based questions, problem solving, critical thinking, collaborative assessment, self-assessment that ICT allows, peer assessment that ICT allows. And I think you are a key proponent of 360-degree assessment, where assessment is coming from all stakeholders, and ICT can do that fantastically. The challenges that I see is resistance for any change, right? And the classic example of that, the example that I'm going to give is for AI and ChatGPT. ChatGPT has come to stay. And there'll be better versions of it. Are we going to use it, embrace it, or are we going to prevent it and ban it? And I would say that use ChatGPT and platforms that AI bring to enhance assessment. Give questions and answers both, and ask the child to look at ChatGPT and say ethically what is right, morally what is right. Can they identify? Can they compare their work with a ChatGPT essay and say, where did ChatGPT pick up those references so that I can do my writing better? There are multiple methods of using ICT to enhance learning. And I think that is what we as educators must look when we bring ICT into assessment.
Thank you so much, Ms. Manju Balasubramaniam. Your enthusiasm and dedication to school education is an inspiration for all of us. And so many takeaways for the audience today from a practitioner. Thank you so much. Stay with us, please. I would like to acknowledge Dr. T. Sudha, the academic director, who's conceptualized and visualized the complete conference, who's joined us today. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us here today. And on that note, may I invite Mr. Lalit Prasad. I have an interesting question for you, especially in continuation with the question raised to Ms. Manju Balasubramaniam. Will gamification, AR and VR be a game changer? Should teachers be trained in such courses than limit themselves to simple assessment tools like Google Forms, Kahoot, Mentimeter, Padlet, Peer Deck, and etc.?
Oh, yeah. So I think that's a great question. And also, I want to just touch upon what Manju just spoke. And in fact, all the ICT, that is the information communication technology we are trying to bring in, is also very suitable for adaptive learning and assessment. So which means that there is a lot of things that you can break the technology into bits and pieces and also probably kind of stick them to the needs. Just coming to the gamification, I think it speaks more about the creativity and also those sorts. So I think these are some of those newer trends that we want to bring in, because if you want to conceptualize the situational learning, I think you need to have more of the gamification and so on and so forth. And I would never say that the teacher needs to be stopped at some point, because I think when we see the value of the ICT, which is actually coming to the fore, and also we see how best these ICT tools and technologies can be used for, say, teaching, learning, and assessment in a way that we all think or conceptualized our learning, which needs to be given, I mean, which is to give the knowledge, understanding, application, and skills. I think we need to have this continuation of the trainings that we provide to the teachers, and take them through all this kind of newer developments that's happening. Just to cite some of the examples that we have within our organization, when we think about the teacher training across South Asia region, so we bring in the component of all this gamification to a certain extent, and also AR, and also probably the kind of virtual realities into the space, because we think that these are all very important drivers. Until we bring in these components very focusedly and also very consciously, I think there's going to be a kind of a disconnect between the awareness or the understanding of the child, and also the speed of a child, and also where the teacher is coming from. So in fact, in our diploma programs and also the qualifications that we run, we are also aiming to kind of integrate these kind of spaces that you just spoke, Ms. Rao. So we want to have components of gamification. We want to have components of all this new age teaching, learning, and assessment techniques that are propellant of the ICTs and things like that. So that it can make the teacher a new age teacher, and also be prepared to understand what are the kind of capsules that the teacher can offer the students or the learners in the process of teaching, learning, and also assessment. So very, very, very conscious about it. And also we want to bring in more of this content to our all teacher professional programs that we are actually driving in.
Thank you, Mr. Lalit. Yeah, in fact, your address helps us understand how gamification, games, using games, which is a key factor to joyful learning for children, and they connect better using ICT today. They're actually, it's actually like reaching out to the world of children the way they want to learn. Teach the way the child wants to learn rather than teach the way you wish to teach, the kind of shift that's happening, a paradigm shift. You've actually envisaged that today. And I'm sure this is going to revolutionize the whole concept of teaching, learning, and the shift happening to more independence in the learner too, because they are going to be actively engaged in learning, and they're going to carry back a higher level of understanding. I strongly feel, because this is going to interest them and excite them in subject areas, rather than make it very mundane in terms of learning with the normal tools that are usually extended to the children. Thank you so much. It was great listening to you. Please be with us. It's now time to call Dr. Pawan Sudhir, ma'am. I have a very important question for you. In view of NEP 2020, there is a need to reimagine education. How will schools get ready in the next 10 to 15 years? What is your perspective on this?
Thank you, Dr. Rao. I must say that Dr. Lalit Prasad and Dr. Manjuji has already touched upon this particular area. He has beautifully expressed what is the need of our time. So first of all, if I want to put it in the points, I feel that NEP has a way out. It has suggested way out, and in a very elaborated manner. Now, coming to the action points, I feel that our teachers need to shift to their role from a teacher to the facilitator, because right now there is so much load on our teachers' shoulders. She always feels that she has to remember the content, she has to do this, she has to do that. So much work on the shoulders of our teachers. What if the content load is just shifted to the children, because now we are talking of use of ICT. There is so much. Why our teachers have to bother about that? What they need to learn today and what the need is the capacity building of our teachers as pedagogues, as a able person to use ICT as a tool. Because whether we talk of pedagogies like experiential pedagogy, like art integrated learning, or even use of ICT, these are excellent tools, but not all our teachers understand it or can use it comfortably. They are trained in a different manner. So I feel that our major focus should be on capacity building of our teachers to the new age teachers. Then is possible. Second would be, which is our concern as government, that though willingness is there, whether it's central government or state governments, we really see that change, and especially after COVID-19, that everybody wants to really go for that change. But we lack resources. Though, as rightly Dr. Vishwanathan has said, that we are very much strong, or we have so much when we talk of the software development part of IT, ICT, like we are known for this in the world. But that alone, especially in government sector, doesn't work, because we do not have matching facilities of hardware or even applications in our schools. So I feel that we need to work faster than what we are doing right now, and we can't do in a patchwork manner. We have to bring a major change, and without any delay. So self-financing schools, again, we have high hopes, because their managing committee can take decision. But in government, we are really worried that how we are going to do this and how fast we are going to do this. But it's possible.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pawan Sudhir, ma'am. All of us are impressed with your attention to detail and the kind of expertise with which you speak to us. You've stressed on the change element required in teachers, and teachers to actually, not stop their learning and to become researchers, to continuously strive to bring in new strategies into the classroom, to be that element of change that is happening in the school situation, so much so that every space in the school becomes a learning space. I think that when that happens, and technology is also driving the teaching learning process, and it's not very high only on the side of teacher, but extends itself to the learner too. That's one deficiency that we are seeing in our schools, that teachers are ably using technology to teach, but when it comes to the learner, I'm not very sure how independent they are, or how much of independence we've brought into the schools to make a learner use technology to learn. Thank you so much. Please stay with us. And I think it's time to call Dr. G. Sri Krishna. As a clinical psychologist, sir, I have a question for you. How does ICT affect mental health? Do you think that this shift that has happened from a complete, conventional mode of teaching learning with certain, I must say, tools that the child uses, like textbooks, notebooks, and listening firsthand to the teacher, slowly and steadily during pandemic and post-pandemic, we've started inserting technology into a child's life. Do you think it is affecting mental health in some way? And further, is it also having a greater impact on the behavior of young students? Kindly unmute yourself, sir. Yes.
Ma'am, this is a very, very important question, ma'am, and very significant today's. First of all, the ICT can affect the mental health in a very, very in a negative way. First of all, what's happening about information communication technology, I think I request other panel member to correct me. Even I would like to highlight about the even social networking also come into ICT, because it is also part of information and communication technology. See, ma'am, the children will have, what is happening is most of the teenage students that virtual bonding is taking place, virtual bonding rather than physical bonding or psychological bonding between people. And people are developing a lot of psychological problems like anxiety, depression, and they have a lot of social skills, lack of social skills with them, and they are unable to bond with their peer group or with their classmates or even relationships. And we all know that internet can be a dangerous place with so much information at your fingertips. The world is at your fingertips. It's easy to get lost in a sea of websites, social media posts and videos. And for some people, this online overload can lead to cognitive disorders and other mental health issues. According to our study, the biggest 5 negative effects of technology on our lives include psychological issues, sleep problems, and also social issues, difficulty forming relationships in the real world, difficulty with focus, attention, and concentration. And we all witnessed the 2021 and 2022, the effect of Corona and the use of digital literacy, digital technology, and some of the people have become complete victims to the overuse of these websites. And I was, this is what, ma'am, hope I could answer your question.
But sir, Dr. Krishna, you actually nailed the problem in that sense, because we as heads of schools and teachers in school are always conscious of the fact that when we give permissions to children and we've brought in a different, I must say, more mode of learning, and therefore they have higher permissions today to use internet and gadgets, whether it's from the side of parents or school, we all have apprehensions. But I think on the positive note, creating awareness among children, among the parents, kind of, giving them some solutions in terms of how to balance out technology versus the normal conventional mode of teaching, learning, how to use technology in a constructive manner rather than, technology just because it's available and, the child spends even their idle time only on technology rather than on outdoor sports and other forms of hobbies and things like that. So I think that is what I feel there is a solution required, and all of us are looking forward towards that. Thank you so much, sir. I think on this note, I would like to invite Dr. G.K. Vishwanath. I'm having questions in the Q&A and I'm taking up some of them. And I had a question which was like further to Dr. Krishna's sharing. So Dr. G.K. Vishwanath, can you highlight some of the safety regulations that has to be kept in mind regarding use of ICT in the regular classroom or in the computer lab, which probably adversely affects the child's well-being?
Yeah, madam. Before I go for discussing about the safety regulation, with your permission, I would like to add one point for the discussions which have been taking place with Madam Pawan Sudhir and with Dr. Lalit Prasad. Both of them have stressed the need of teacher education, teacher training. So I also would like to just say one point to emphasize more about the teacher training. It should be a very continuous process in the schools or even in the higher education also. For example, in our university, now I'm heading a Human Resource Development Center where we train the teachers across the country. So the teachers, the faculty members who are in the higher education institutions are supposed to come and they should get exposed to all the new methods of teaching and new tools which are available for teaching. Same has been stressed upon by both the previous eminent speakers. So thank you very much. Just I would like to mention about that. Regarding the other point, what you have been looking at is about the safety. Definitely when it comes to the information and communication technology, particularly in the classroom or in the computer laboratory where students are massively getting involved in that, no safety regulations are really paramount. One of the most important safety regulation is to keep in mind while we are using this ICT in the classroom is about the safety of the internet. That means we need to ensure that the students are not exposed to the inappropriate content, and that they are not communicating with the individuals who may have harmful intentions. So this precaution need to be taken maybe by using appropriate filtering techniques in the entire campus. Maybe one important thing. Other is school, when children with their smaller age, probably they may get connected more with a very specific interest. So they leave some other aspects and try to dig only in one aspect. That part also we try to look at and try to see that the children are kept in right track, in the right path, because internet so it's a widespread usage and people can spend a lot of time on that. We had the cases also in our college long back. A student was studying second year, stopped coming to the classes and completely working only on the internet. He has been trying to invent something in the internet without coming to the classes, misleading the parents, saying that he has been regularly attending to the classes. After the end semester examination, when we found that the boy who was a top ranker of MSET admissions did not even take the examination also. So this would be another problem. So we need to be little careful that we need to watch the students continuously. Third safety precaution that probably we need to take as a whole for the institution is about the privacy and security of the data. Because we may be using all techniques like AI/ML, or maybe with a lot of data would be generated. This huge data sometimes will be misused. So regulations, what are the safety regulations also need to be considered while using the ICT in the classrooms or in the computer laboratories. While we are using these devices, probably the students also must be fully given the clear picture. And lastly, which is very, very important, is that it is only the teacher who will communicate better, and it is the student who will listen to the teacher better, even more than their parents. So the teachers also must be fully apprised of on a regular basis in terms of the teacher training programs, in terms of some workshops, in terms of maybe the refresher courses or winter or summer schools or some orientation programs. The teachers also must be given sufficient training how to and where to use and where to cut, etc. Thereby, the children are not going to be adversely affected with this ICT in the institutions. That's all I feel, madam.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vishwanath, for providing us such apt solutions and suggestions for making the world of technology much more safer, at least in some small, simple measures, and with a conscious effort towards safety. I think that's the order of the day, and we all look forward to that. Thank you so much. May I now invite Mrs. Manju Balasubramaniam. I have a question which would, actually reflect your experience. I'm sure post-pandemic you adopted a hybrid model in school, which is, I'm sure it's becoming a norm in most of the schools. How have you actually evolved this, and do you think parents or children are facing challenges? And I also would like you to quickly state or share a few e-learning content, because I have discussed with you before and I know that you are a repository of them. So could you touch base on these two questions, please?
Sure, Sunita ma'am, and thank you for the question. I'd like to start with the second question that you asked on the resources. And for this, I'd like to compliment Dr. Pawan Sudhir, NCERT and CIET for getting the King Hamdan Award for from the United Nations for their exemplary work in the ICT in 2021. The amazing number of resources, like again and again, it has come in conversations that, the private schools have access to more. But I think the Government of India, NCERT, MHRD have left no stone unturned to go through the EM Vidya portal, PM Vidya portal, which has so many. So I'm going to suggest some of them that we all have been using, starting with Nishtha, Nipun, which have come in with the FLN. These are great repositories. NROER, the National Repository for Open Educational Resources. Swayam platform for MOOCs, then Swayam Prabha, then the TV and the radio channels. And then we have e-Pathshala, we have Prashast for children with special needs, where the schools can identify children with special needs, learning disabilities. Shagun, Manodarpan, which is for the mental well-being of children. Lot of the ISL, the introduction of the Indian Sign Language in the digital platform, a great resource. E-books, e-content, audios and videos, Doordarshan itself. And I think it's limitless. And then individual states have their own programs, and groups of schools like ours, like DPS schools, have their repository of resources and question banks. And I think at the one thing that I really wanted to bring to this platform is the CBSE's DigiLocker. In the future, with the kind of automation and ICT implementation that is happening, we will be able to record children's progress in their knowledge, skills and attitudes and aptitudes over the years of schooling and college, so that they can build skill wallets, that the future employer will begin to get information about the child. And I think that's a great initiative that the CBSE has taken to start with the DigiLockers and the e-portfolios. So I think these were two points that I wanted to take up with. What are we doing at DPS for a hybrid learning? So while we have come back to the regular classroom and to offline teaching, but all classes, like Dr. Vishwanath had said, still have smart boards and smart classes. We still have diagnostic assessment that takes care of, classroom while they're doing math and science to find out where they're doing using tablets. We also have a flipped classroom technique where a lot of learning is happening, allowing for self-learning using ICT back home. And the classroom then becomes a discussion forum. A lot of collaborative projects are still using ICT as a platform so that children can work from their homes and their spaces. We use a lot of social media in learning. So we have classroom Facebook groups, we have WhatsApp as a learning tool for teachers and for students. We are using social media to not only learn academic subjects, but also for crowdfunding and to uplift, and to bring, raise funds for social causes across the country. We have moved to many more PTMs because we can now do it online. So that is community connect with the parental connect happens through online PTMs. That gives a lot of time. I can see the green flag, so I'm going to stop.
Sorry for that. I think, the kind of sharing that is happening today I wish we had 2 hours instead of 1 hour, but then paucity of time and looking at the clock, which says 5:02, I still am tempted and do not want to close it before I raise this question to, thank you so much, Ms. Manju Balasubramaniam. May I raise the last question to Dr. Pawan Sudhir? I know that you as part of NCRT is working along with your team on NCF. May we know certain pertinent changes and the directions that you wish to give schools through the change elements that are going to be seen or reflected in the NCF?
Thank you, Dr. Rao. We are coming out with the National Curriculum Framework for School Education. So I think very soon, maybe by next month, we are going to be there and launching it. And we are trying that whatever NEP has recommended is put into the action. So that phase is going on, and saying anything or giving more elaboration will be too early. But whatever is there in NEP, we are putting it in the action program. So next month, we are going to release it.
Wonderful. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. That's like, we have all the policymakers also today here. We have members leading the educational world, right from teacher education and training to practitioners, and we have higher education member here. We've had members from the psychology background. I think that was highly enriching and panel today, and I'm elated with the fact that all of you were part of our eminent panel today on the topic role of ICT in education. It has indeed been very engrossing and fruitful exchange of ideas. The session has brought to the forefront the increasing need of ICT in the modern era of education, NEP 2020, which has redefined the significant role of technology-driven classrooms. In fact, schools are right now testing new ground. They're trying to get a feel of what's NEP and where do we stand in terms of the compliance, or rather, bringing in into action in school. And it will take some more efforts from all the heads of schools and practitioners to make it a reality. But then this is the beginning of a new journey, and tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And the role of ICT is indeed the passport to the future. Thank you so much. I put my hands together to applaud each one of you. And thank you for the audience, because you've been amazing, not just having been here on the platform, but you've raised pertinent questions here. And for the information of all viewers, may I leave you with this important information about international conference, the 2 days international conference that we are hosting on 15th and 16th of April at ISB Hyderabad, a physical one. On 15th, the rounds of discussions by eminent members from CBSE, from NCRT, from higher education and school education is actually focusing on school education. And Praveen, if you may move to day 2. The day 2 is completely focused and dedicated to discussions around higher education. But throughout the day 1 and day 2, the line of discussion is NEP 2020, vision into action. Thank you so much. On that note, with your permission, I'd like to close the webinar today. And I look forward to many more.
Ma'am, 1 minute, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, we're not taking up questions, ma'am. Sorry to ask you.
I raised a few questions, sir, because due to paucity of time, I'm not able to raise further questions.
Not you, ma'am. Audience, ma'am. Students.
No, they gave it in the Q&A and I read it out to you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good day to all of you. Thank you. Namaskar.